Welcome to day 2 of Suburban Action Week. Today we've got an advocacy talk with Cycle Brookfield. So I am Maggie Sherwinski from the Active Transportation Alliance. And with me helping out is Brian Larson, who's a former intern from Active Trans. He's a lawyer and a student, current student right now at UIC. So I'd like to introduce you to our two presenters today. We've got Chris Valadez and Terry Rivera. They're both part of the Cycle Brookfield leadership team. So I will hand it over to Chris to get started.
Thanks, Maggie. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Maggie mentioned, my name is Chris Valadez, and with me is Terry Rivera from Cycle Brookfield. We are a 501c3 non-for-profit located out of, you guessed it, the lovely Brookfield. Pretty easy to figure out where we're from. So thank you for taking the time today to join us, and I'll walk through a couple slides here with you. So as many of you know, Brookfield, you'll likely have visited us because probably our zoo, but there's more to Brookfield than just lions and dolphins. We are a vibrant community of about 18,000 plus residents. And in addition to the zoo, we have the multi-use Salt Creek Trail, and we see about 150,000 unique bike rides each year coming through our streets. For years, there has been a community expressed interest in improving some of the infrastructure, specifically along the zoo path along 31st Street for both pedestrian and cycling alike. As the community continued to demand safer roads and streets for cyclists and pedestrians, a group of passionate residents formed to sort of bring those wishes to life. And I give you Cycle Brookfield, as you see here, part of the leadership team. Like most advocacy groups, Cycle Brookfield started small. We built our community by hosting small events and sharing our ideas. But we found that being consistent, even in the hardest times like 2020, was critical to grow trust within our community. Ultimately, we continue to see more walking, running, and cycling in our community. So is also the need for a voice. For us, consistency was paramount. We've sustained a monthly Friday social ride that brings experienced and inexperienced riders of all ages who are either just curious about biking or maybe just want to be part of something. We set up some really cool rides that focus on the best of Brookfield, and we've met many of our neighbors and even elected officials by setting up a tent at our farmers market, which was really great. And of course, having a digital presence is paramount and really helps to engage and grow our community and really spread our mission. So thank you for that. Let me have that quick introduction, Maggie, and I'll just hand it back over to you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chris. Everyone, we have a few questions that we prepared for Chris and Terry, but if any of you who are here right now have any questions, please add them to the chat, and Brian and I will read them off after we get through a few initial questions. And one thing I would recommend is you can change the view to speaker view so you can see who's speaking bigger on your screen. So I guess Chris and Terry, just I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit more about how Cycle Brookfield started. Like, was it one person who had this idea? Was it how did you personally get involved?
Yeah, so I'll take that question first, Maggie. Thanks. How it started is it's really pretty basic. I think probably about 2018. I can't believe it's already been that long. A number of us, sort of local cyclists, we're kind of friends and so forth, saw the idea to, improve cycling in Brookfield. I'll be very frank, we don't have a lot of cycling infrastructure. Riding on the street is usually met with a couple fists in the air or a couple, words from motorists. So we decided just to get together and get out in the street and just be visible on the street and just ride our bikes on the street on a routine basis. So we started off, I think it was like Thursdays at like 5 p.m. or something like that. A couple of us would gather, Terry would come out, and a number of us, kind of core, crazy cyclists every Thursday would get out there and just be visible on the street to let people know it's okay to see bikes on the streets of Brookfield. And it just kind of, took life after that, Maggie. Honestly, we decided to grow that message on social media, of course, using Facebook and our local Facebook page. We said, hey, let's, hey, we'll be out there, at this time on Thursday. Who wants to join us for rides, and we would get, some folks coming in, but that core group really formed there. And as we were out riding and kind of talking about, wouldn't it be great if there was a bike lane here? Wouldn't it be awesome if we talked to village leadership and elected officials to lobby for this and that or whatever? That really those ideas just happen through conversations with like-minded folks like myself, and just people who just ultimately want to see safer cycling and also pedestrian access. That's important to most of us who ride our bikes as well. We really want to see the streets and the sidewalks clear for for people to walk. But we want to see people out interacting. We love waving at people. It's kind of a Cycle Brookfield thing we do around our rides. Wave at people and interact with our neighborhood. So it's kind of the benefit of being in a smaller community, but a very vibrant one, is to engage. And but we want to do it safely on the street. So that's how we started 2018. And we're now in 2021, and oh my God, we're a non-for-profit 501c3. Where did that come from? We have major initiatives in front of us. So it really kind of spawned just from that idea.
Great, thanks, Chris. That's a cool story of how it all started. And I mean, just seeing like you guys have your website, you have like a really strong social media presence, and I know you organize a lot of events, which you were mentioning before, and I feel like you are a model in the region of how to build community and really get more people involved. And could you both share some examples of some of the events you've organized, and some of like when the pandemic started, what were your thoughts? Like, how do you organize an event while this is going on? And you did.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that as well. So my light's moving down. So there was, as a pandemic, so some of our, I kind of mentioned in my presentation, we have a monthly Friday slow roll. And really the idea there is not necessarily to, blaze through town at 20 miles an hour and so forth. It's really about community gathering, talking to, it's not just cyclists, but people who are curious, bike curious, if you will, want to know more about, how to get out in the street, or maybe what's the best path to get from the library to the local grocery store. Sometimes people just want to know what's the safest route. So we try to share that through our monthly rides as we do that. Here's a route from here to there. We pass by the library, the grocery store, other the best restaurants that we can think of, to kind of show people that it's okay to get out there and ride. But those have kept the community engaged. We often had some sort of, dare I say, pinnacle rides, large rides that we kind of rotate our year round. And every year, actually part of the reason we started, as a matter of fact, was because the village of Brookfield put together a what they called Bike Brookfield Day. It was a single day, 300 plus riders, street shut down, police organized, events, parties, raffles, all around it. It was really cool for us that are, cyclists, to the core, to see the streets shut down by the police and have a police-led ride, all the way from the beginning, was really exciting for us. And of course, in the pandemic, that couldn't happen again. So, every year we would, Cycle Brookfield would volunteer. We'd hand out water bottles, or, partner with the village just to kind of assist them, stuffing swag bags or whatever that could be. But through the years, as I mentioned, we kind of gained this following. Our social media presence is now over 600 plus followers on social media. We have a core group of folks who come to every single ride. These monthly slow roll rides would see sometimes up to 60, 70 people. Really exciting, all ages. I mean, a couple of rides ago, we had a young girl who just learned to ride, and she had her training wheels on, did 6.5 miles on her through the streets of Brookfield on training wheels. So awesome parents, of course, but kudos to the young girl who completed that. So obviously we had this core group who really loved what we did, and the village who had supported us through some of these rides and so forth. And the village came to us in 2020 and says, Chris, we can't do a massive 300 plus person ride in the middle of a pandemic. What can we do? So we collaborated really closely with the village, and came up with this idea of Bike Brookfield Week, which for us is one of our largest, dare say most involved rides that we've put together thus far. So it was a week long. We started it off, Terry, was like a Monday, I think, yeah, and through Friday. We opened it up, for in the middle of the summer. It was gorgeous weather, and what we did is we put these stations across Brookfield, basically just signs with QR codes. Everyone's now familiar with QR codes because you go to a restaurant now and you're scanning them. I can't believe they've come back. I like to think we pioneered it early in the pandemic, but our QR codes basically gave information at each one of these 20 sites. So we had a map at station one. You go and you scan it with your phone, you get to the QR code map, and then you see where's station number two. And you basically geocache or hunt your way through Brookfield and find either really interesting information that a lot of people didn't know. I learned a lot myself about Brookfield, and I've lived here for over a decade. Sometimes we were just driving people to cycling, bike-friendly, businesses. Like we have a number of restaurants that have bike racks in front of there. So we were driving some, bikes and pedestrians to those locations. So all in all, it was a great event, a week long at your own pace, tour to Brookfield, if you will, see what you can see and learn some more. And, we brought the businesses involved as well. We asked them, would you like to, be part of this? We offered coupons if you visited some of the stations, the breakfast restaurants, the new barbecue joint, we offered, some couponing there. And the businesses saw, an uptick in business. We saw a ton of bikes out that entire week. It was amazing to see. Every time I was out riding myself, or my wife would come home, she's like, oh my God, there's people on every corner, with the bike. It was really amazing to see how Bike Brookfield Week really, how that event really changed into maybe Bike Brookfield Week this point moving forward because of the pandemic. So the pandemic actually did us well. It increased our visibility, and we gained, I think, what, Terry, probably 20+% or so of our membership kind of started because of the pandemic during Bike Brookfield Week.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's
Yeah,
and such a creative idea to get people involved and keep it safe. And
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
um, I just thinking about, you are all also very involved in advocacy, transportation, like biking, walking advocacy around Brookfield. What are some projects that you've advocated for? Have you seen any successes? Have you had any challenges that you've run across?
Both successes and challenges, of course. I would say our biggest success has been working closely with the village. They have an active transportation plan in place, and now they've got a group of people that are interested in helping them implement that. So Chris is in regular communication with the village. They're supportive of our events. Like Chris mentioned, they've come to us to say, hey, we can't do Bike Brookfield. Would you do something with it? So it's been great that we've had that liaison with the village. I think that's been really key. We've also working really closely with them on a lot of the infrastructure that Chris mentioned. I've lived in Brookfield my entire life, and the 31st Street corridor has been a passion project of mine for years. And so it's really great that now there's a bunch of other people as well kind of pushing that forward. So working with the village very closely on that. I think the biggest challenge has been just gaining traction of getting more people involved. So as Chris mentioned, there is a core group of us that are always regularly out on the rides, and we have monthly meetings, and we're at the village meetings and things like that. But there's a lot of work to be done. So it would be great to have more people involved. So although we do have a great social media following, having a couple more people kind of join us in an advocacy piece would be really helpful, I think. So that's something that we're working on.
And I guess, do you have any just overall advice from your advocacy experience for other advocates around the region on how, like, things that you've done that can help move things forward and actually so you can see improvements with walking and biking?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the number one area that we've had success in, and Chris mentioned this before, is just being super consistent. So even when we first originally started on those Thursday at 5 p.m. rides, we'd meet at the village, and there'd be two of us sometimes. We're like, well, we're doing it. We're not going to just cycle home because nobody else showed up. And it gained traction from that. They're like, people knew we were going to be there. And now it's the first Friday slow roll. People know someone's going to be there to ride with. Someone, again, being consistent about showing up to those village meetings, having our Cycle Brookfield shirts on, and just being present, even if there's nothing cycling, on the agenda, or speaking up and saying, hey, we're checking in on the progress of the plan. Being vocal and being consistent, I think, is really important.
Yeah, great. And is there anything any of us can do to support you guys on your efforts?
Yeah, I think, follow us, of course, join us on Facebook. We have a mailing list of, if Facebook isn't your favorite option, come to our website, cyclebrookfield.com. We've spent a lot of time putting together a good, what we feel is an important social media presence, not just web, but also on Facebook. We post our events there. Any ideas that are kind of fluttering around, we usually start there to kind of see what that happens. So please, Facebook, our webpage, join us, follow us, come to an event, please, when we're able to do more events again, but at the bare minimum, just to see what we're up to and follow us, please.
Great. And so there's a handful of questions now in the chat, and I just saw one that popped up that I was just going to ask actually, but it was about the 31st Street project. Can you share more about that and where things are right now?
Chris, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah. So where we stand with that one is there's thankfully the village of Brookfield has become the conduit for the 31st Street project. It's as you can imagine, with any large infrastructure project. I mean, this traverses the zoo. It touches other 31st Street touches other villages. Riverside to the west, LaGrange and LaGrange Park just to the to the east of us is Riverside, and to the west is LaGrange, and so forth. So 31st Street has multiple tentacles that it touches. So Brookfield has taken the leadership and has started a phase one planning on to see where this is going to happen. We hope to continue to be there as the voice of reason, gathering some information and so forth to the to the not only just the village, but looking for other opportunities to fund this project. It's going to be multiple millions of dollars, like any one project that anyone can imagine. Excuse me. Yes, I still have a home phone. I'm sorry. So being part of that, the village has taken ownership on that phase one study, and where we stand is hopefully to get that project launched. We're going to continue, as I mentioned, being that voice, collecting data, collecting letters of support from some of our local businesses. We're going to do that. We're going to be the boots on the ground for the village and walk them through there. So hopefully within 2 years, we'd like to be at a spot where we're going to IDOT or some of the other funding opportunities and really putting forward a proposal to get that project funded. Terry mentioned, her entire life she's lived here, here and wanting to see this project go through. I mean, for me, it's been over a decade. I'd love to see this happen. So just that consistency and staying on top of it, and that constant communication with the village, understanding where they are in their project, even as leadership and roles change throughout, the municipality as it happens, just having that constant communication open is even just as important as finding the money or putting a plan together, just making sure that you're being vocal to your leadership.
Sure. And I know you were both very involved in helping the village apply for money or
Yes.
find funding for this, which I think is also an important step that I would encourage other advocates to do things like this, to just try to understand all the funding sources and encourage your village or city to apply.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off that a little bit, Maggie. I mean, some of the resources that, of course, Active Trans has provided for us and other groups within Illinois have really helped us to, understand what is available. And sometimes, it's a lot of work. I'm not going to shy away. Terry and I are always bouncing ideas back one another and saying, there's this opportunity here. Does this make sense? But it really, for us, it starts with having that trust within the village leadership to say, not only, here's an event that we want to plan, but hey, can we talk to you about what it looks like to plan this, or do you have resources that maybe we're not available for? So we're honored, because this is a passion project of us, to get 31st Street funded. But at the same point, we're honored because we do have skill sets, within our own professional lives that we've procured throughout time to give to this project. And as an advocate, keeping that consistent message and consistent, idea moving forward just shows the leadership that not only, are we passionate, but there is a need there. And so they're going to take it seriously, and they're not going to be able to turn you away as easily if you're always in their ear every month or so asking for updates on it. So it's been a consistent message. And again, thank you to Maggie, all you do for us as well, and Active Trans, because sending us some ideas and so forth about how to keep forward keeps us motivated to also do that. So I wish it was all us. I mean, Maggie, honestly, you do a lot more than I'm probably giving you credit for on this.
Well, so. no, please, like, you guys do so much in Brookfield, and I'm often looking to you guys for ideas. So
I think also just a quick chime in on that as well. I think it's a good give and take, right? We're not always just asking for something. We're also offering something, right? So like Chris said, when we get the active trans list of here's some possible grants, we send it to them saying, here's one idea and we're happy to like form it up for you. Or, hey, you guys can't do Bike Brookfield. We want to do something for you. So instead of always going with the, ask, we also give the offer.
Yeah, that's good advice. So Brian, do you want to start? We can alternate. There's a handful of questions in the chat. So Brian, I'll let you start.
Sure. So it looks like you've already talked a little bit about the village officials sort of championing on some of the projects, and also about the 31st Street corridor. So I get the next question we have is whether the village of Brookfield has put in any bike lanes or other improvements your group has recommended.
Chris, you want to talk specifically about that? I would kind of just kick that off by saying, I think we have to be flexible as groups, right? That we want the 31st Street project. That is our number one goal, but we know that's going to take a really long time. So I think being open to other ideas and implementing some of these smaller, easier things is a great way for us to build trust and relationship with the village as well. We have been doing that. And Chris, you could talk specifically about a couple of things that we've accomplished on that.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Terry. Yeah, so there's, as Terry mentioned, 31st Street is our passion project, but there are some other infrastructure ideas. I wish this was our idea, but there is a bike boulevard, one in Brookfield. It's about 2 blocks long along a park. And it's sort of the main multi-use Kiwanis Park that we have here in there. Not really birthed from a Cycle Brookfield idea, but it was very well timed. It started because timing is everything. After Bike Brookfield, Day started and Cycle Brookfield became involved. We have been promoting that as much as the village has liked to see it. So that's really the start of seeing that there's an appetite at the village level to continue with some other infrastructure ideas. So we're really leveraging that idea, saying there's a bike boulevard along the park, which is obviously critical for getting people to and from the park safely, and we're going to continue leveraging on that. So we're looking at other opportunities. There's sort of our, dare I say, our main street, which runs just directly east and west of our village. Most people know the RB High School and the south end of the zoo. If you ever kind of park up there, there's this street, Washington Avenue, it runs from First Ave and about 1.5 miles long all the way through the village. It touches every main school district and business center and so forth. That is prime opportunity for cycling infrastructure. And if you look at sort of Strava heat wave maps and so forth, I use it just about every day, and just about every other cyclist I know uses Washington Avenue to get there. Just kind of come through Brookfield and so forth. There's real opportunity for safety. The road is kind of primed and ready for it. A little infrastructure, either sharrows or painted, bike lanes. The village sees the opportunity now, and again, as we have sort of gained that trust and been a resource to the village, we have been able to kind of look at that and procure that on a higher up on their schedule than available. They wanted to do this for years, but now they're saying, Chris, thank you for bringing it to us. Cycle Brookfield. We understood it was a need, but now you're sharing that it is more critical than we thought it was. So I think we're going to be able to see some progress on the Washington Ave bike lane sooner than even 31st Street. And there's other couple small connector routes along Brookfield Avenue, which is basically where our metro train runs. As you can imagine, people come always to the zoo here by train, and we have commuters and so forth. So there's a lot of cycling that happens right along the rail line is here as well. So that's another opportunity that we see real easy infrastructure improvements, either by paint, arrows, and so forth, or the signage can really help. And that doesn't take a lot of money. So partnering with your village officials and leadership to understand where it fits into a budget cycle can be really helpful, because you could help them to visualize it's important in their budget, and see if you can pull it up on schedule ahead of time if it's not there already.
Yeah, cool. We also have a question from Ralph about the Park District. Are they involved at all with Cycle Brookfield, or are they an ally?
We actually don't have an official park district. We do have like a recreation department, and they were, I believe they were actually the ones that started Bike Brookfield. So they've been super supportive of us, and the commissioner who's in charge of that group is very active with Bike Brookfield as well. So yes, we do ally with them, even though it's not an official park district.
And along similar lines, if you had any cooperative events tied in with the zoo?
We actually have not. We have just initially made contact with them about the 31st Street project. I think that was kind of one of the sticking points actually all these years, is that the zoo and the villages were not agreeing on what that project could look like. And as Chris mentioned, now there's a whole cooperative group that's working on that, and the zoo is a part of those conversations. So I'm hopeful that we will have some other events tied in with them in the future, but we're not currently really working with them.
We've got someone wondering about, do you have any from that event you had with the businesses? Do you have any quantifiable results that showcases an increase in their local businesses or restaurant sales?
Yeah, we do. So thankfully, every data is everything these days. So we use some technology platforms that kind of fumbled through, but we learned a lot at the same point. So this QR codes, track who is going where and how and so forth, and the coupon codes, expire after a certain point. So I was actually able to present to the 5 businesses or so that after Bike Brookfield, how many coupons were selected, and they were able to share with me, loosely, yes, there was an increase of foot traffic, either day of or post Bike Brookfield week. So I don't have any exact numbers of, percentage of increase of retail, but each business that we engaged with did see an increase that week and immediately afterwards. One of our the final resting stops was one of our local pubs, and that one I think they offered a free pretzel if you scan the code. So I stopped there, so I know they got some of my business for a free pretzel. But I saw a lot of folks sitting there that day alone, getting their free pretzel, having a cold beverage on a warm day after a bike ride. So and all throughout, when we saw businesses increase, and as I mentioned, no quantifiable numbers, but I know that there was an increase in business at that time around that week.
I think in general, like Chris had said, we saw a lot of activity on social media around that week of just, wow, I never knew this about Brookfield, or I live on the south side, I've never been to that park on the north side, things like that. So I think there was a lot of discovery during that week, whether it was a business or a new park or whatever it might be, but we did see a lot of great social interaction.
That's great. Let's see, anything else, Brian, that you see? Well, I guess there is a question about the village officials being involved as your champions. Like, how did you find those champions? Was it clear and obvious, or did you have to dig a bit?
Chris, I know that we have great advocates on the village board. I don't know if they just kind of started showing up to the rides or what. I don't really remember, but we had a number of the village board members just saying, this is great, we love what you're doing, we want to be a part of it, how can we help? I know when we really did start doing the advocacy piece, we reached out individually to every board member and introduced ourselves. So I sent an email to the group saying, here's who we are, we'd love to meet with you one-on-one and just talk to you about our priorities, learn how where you're at with all this. And we had a number of people respond saying, great, we'd love to talk to you about that. So I think the one-on-one outreach was really important. And we actually have really a lot of support from the police department. So as Chris had mentioned before, that they had done like the road close ride. And when that couldn't happen anymore because of COVID, they said, we can still do soft closures for you. Just give us a call a couple weeks in advance, let us know when your ride is, and we're happy to support you on that. So I think having the police involved with us as well helped.
Yeah, and to continue on that thread, Maggie, we had we decided to have sort of an annual event, kind of, big picture thinking, strategy building, kind of bring our core together to think about that. So at our annual summit last year, we were always looking for a little bit more police exposure, and we invited the police chief and so forth and village officials to this meeting, and kind of put them on the spot a little bit and said, hey, we are looking for a little bit more help. We're seeing an increase in ridership, and police stood right up and says, absolutely, like Terry said, we will help you with soft closures. Just let us know, and so having that opportunity to speak with them one-on-one and seeing the vision of what we're trying to accomplish, even just beyond a handshake or an email, kind of putting the personal touch to what it is that we're doing, really putting a full picture, I think helped that event. I'll give you one idea. We had this holiday this haunted Halloween ride, which is amazing. I think 80, 90 people, I think, on Halloween, all masked and
That's
so forth.
huge.
Huge event, all at night, lots of lights and so forth. And we visited all the, the coolest haunted houses around Brookfield, which was a task in its own. But we could not have done that without the support of the Brookfield Police Department. They closed some of the major thoroughfares that we needed, crossing at Ogden Avenue, for instance, and on a Friday night, at 7 o'clock with riders at 6 years old, and so forth. So it was critical for us to have some of these events and rides that we've had successfully because of that partnership that we started off early on, and created that foundation a while back.
So for these rides, did these all begin from the village building, giving you sort of like a center to start off talking about that consistency you were describing? Was there another location you started finding more accessible for the general community?
We actually all meet at Eight Corners. If you've ever been to Brookfield, you might know Eight Corners. But one of the core group members owns an art gallery there. So we meet there at the art gallery. And then we've actually ended up there because there's a place that we can have a bonfire after. So we've done a bike ride and a bonfire after, but it's a set place. Like Chris said, it's a Friday, at 6 at the same place, the same time. We do a little safety talk in the beginning, please wear, and even on the flyer, please wear your helmet, please light your bike. We had waivers, people had to sign waivers. So we kind of do a whole little pre-talk, we welcome everybody, we chit chat, and then Chris or one of the other guys lead the ride. And then we always do have a sweeper if we are crossing busy streets and it's just a smaller ride, with no police assistance. They literally stop and make sure everybody crosses comfortably. We've also done it in 2 waves. So sometimes, especially with the newer riders in the summer, we get a big group and there's a lot of, like Chris said, younger kids and things. So we'll say, if you want to do the full 6.2, this is kind of the group and the route for that. If you want to do a little shorter ride, we'll have a second leader and a second sweep for that, kind of depending on the size of the group. But those are kind of the logistics of the ride.
Yeah, that's a great idea to just give people options, and because people are comfortable with different things. So I like that. We have Ben wondering do you have any challenges or failures that you've learned from throughout your time with Cycle Brookfield?
Yeah, every day.
I was gonna say no failures. What are you talking about?
No, we're perfect, of course. No, yeah, there's always room for improvement. There's always things that we circle back. I'll look back at I talked up the Halloween ride, for instance, but it was tough. It was at night. It was a Friday night. It was cold. It was 30, 40 degrees on Halloween, if everyone remembers. I was sweating from head to toe because it was trying to wrangle that many people together. We didn't have as many support riders, volunteers, if you will, to kind of help sweep the ride, and we had no SAC support. So it really required me to go from beginning of ride to end of ride, up and down the street, the entire time. So it was a 6-mile ride, but I think I probably did 34 miles in that day because I was up and down the route. So yes, there's always failures. We recognize that as our group is growing, we're going to have to add more volunteer support. We talked at our last meeting about bringing volunteers in and having like vest for sweepers. Are we going to have specific jerseys or shirts or something like that, so we can coordinate better with them. And I did. Usually we have just a couple dads or whatever that get the idea and will block the street for us and help us through there. But organizing that from the early on is something that we're still figuring out. So we're keeping the rides as safe as possible is something that we're working through. And of course, COVID is adding challenges up and down that list for us. And so there's unfortunately been a couple times we've actually had to cancel rides because it got too big. So understanding maybe getting RSVPs or understanding if we're going to have the ride or not. And we had a number of people that were disappointed because we canceled rides, but obviously safety is safety first in this entire venture. So we learned how to communicate. We learned how to be upfront about what the mission and idea is, and if we can't meet safety standards, we're going to cancel the ride for everyone's safety.
Question, speaking about safety, Bill is wondering about insurance coverage. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, I just put that in the chat. That's why we have people sign waivers, right? It's like ride at your own risk. Again, we put helmets and lights, and we always we have like a tub of safety stuff, right? We have an air pumps and extra lights and things like that. So if people don't have it, we can equip them with it if needed. But no, we don't provide insurance.
Yeah, and on that theme as well, of promoting safety, as we don't have insurance, but we are collecting waivers, not only just for the bike ride, but also for contact tracing purposes for COVID. We're using it as a good repository for that, and we do have a bike light program where you buy one and donate two. So if you come to a bike ride and you don't have a light, we're going to encourage you to purchase a light, which is going to donate 2 lights to school age children in Brookfield. So it's a program that we started. We had an idea, and a member kind of granted us some funds to make that mission happen. So we're making do on that, and we donated. I think at our Halloween ride, we donated 50 lights to kids that night alone. So obviously our mission is safety first. I wish we can fully insure the group and so forth, but just keeping the mission and theme of being accountable for your safety, and here's the tools to do it, is what we're here to show our group.
That is such a wonderful idea with the lights and the donating to the local schools. That's, I hope some people listening take that idea and bring it to their communities. See, Army's wondering about helmet wearing. Do you require that on your rides?
We have it on the flyer. Chris, I wouldn't say required probably, but maybe you want to talk about that.
Yeah, we definitely encourage
Yeah.
helmets as much as possible. I mean, we say it on the flyer, on the media. I mean, every time we talk about it, it's sort of an unknown verbiage of ours is this: we're just going to always say helmets, lights, and mask at this point. So we can't require someone to wear a helmet and kind of kick them off the ride. But I'm always usually the one, as I'm talking to the kid, parent, whomever is there without a helmet, I'm usually kind of coaching them through why helmets are important. So you may come without a helmet, but hopefully the next time I see you there, I'd like to see you with a helmet. Or if you don't have one, let's go to the tilt. We have some donations and so forth that we can give you. So we encourage it. We can't require it.
We do a tune-up event every spring. So it's, pumping up your tires. We have a bike wash, and we actually have a helmet fitting as well. So people come and they get their helmet fitted properly, or like Chris said, we have some that we've just had, donated and things, or we can help them figure out where to buy one if they need one. So that's part of our tune-up event.
When you have those events, do you do it at the farmer's market or at an existing event, or do you host your own separate event?
It started off as part of Bike Brookfield because people would always come over to us and say, do you guys have air pump? Which of course we always did. And then, so we started doing our own. So we have it at the same place that we meet for our rides. And then, yeah, we have 4 or 5 stations set up with, like I said, air tires. I mean, Chris, you guys kind of do a whole checkup. There's a whole area for a full checkup, pump up your tires, bike wash, helmet fitting. There's a lot going on that day. That's a really popular. We get really backed up with bikes that day.
Yeah, exactly. As Terry said, there, we try to, put that event about 2 to 3 weeks before the Bike Brookfield event, or either, the day or the week, whatever that is. And as Terry mentioned, it's hyper popular. We see people coming out with your 30-year-old Schwinn that hasn't, moved, out of the garage in 30 years because they want to ride. And so sometimes we're doing a full thorough tune-up. Maybe we don't want to. Maybe I'm just geeking out about a super cool bike that I haven't seen in years. So I'm excited to work on it. Or we're just, just talking to them about helmet safety and fitting and so forth. And, that has been the tune-up event, or, has been really helpful, not just for us to kind of pass our mission, but for the entirety of the village, just to feel safe getting on their bikes and knowing that there's a resource that they can trust to talk to. That's not really there to sell them anything. It's just really there to get them motivated to get on their bike and get out and ride.
So a question from Ralph is, what kind of fundraising do you do as a group? It sounds like there's more like individual based specific items like the light program, but anything else?
We actually just talked about this at our meeting a month ago, that we don't do any official fundraising. Actually, we don't charge for any of our, no charges for our events and services and rides and things like that. But we were considering maybe doing some kind of membership level or something like that, because there are costs to this. And luckily we've received some funds from Active Trans that we've been able to use towards that. But as we grow, we know that we're gonna have some purchase in front of us to keep our word out on the street. So we are considering maybe doing a membership or something, but right now there's no actual fundraising going on.
And another question for Chris: do you own a bike shop, or do you partner with a bike shop with bike expertise?
Oh, it's my long vision that I'm going to own a bike cafe. But no, I do not today. I do not. Thanks for putting the idea in my head again, because it comes up at least every spring. But we do have some bike shops that we prefer in the area. You know, there's a number of them. There's Dan's in Berwyn, and there's a Wheel Thing in LaGrange. And those are sort of our two go-to, if you will. And both are actually very active in our community, you know, either by resident involvement or just donations to some of the events and so forth. So, you know, we often will have some of their business cards laying around, or kind of direct people to, you know, more, you know, if you need an actual bike purchase, or, you know, a straight, you know, tune up that we can't do with the wrench in my back pocket kind of deal, we always send them to our local favorite bike shops. But no, I don't own a bike shop right now, today at least.
Do you, well, yeah, I feel like I want to go move to Brookfield now after hearing from the two of you. It just sounds so much fun there. All right, well, I think, Brian, I think those are all the questions from the chat. So I don't know if either of you have anything else to add, but really appreciate you taking the time and sharing all of this, all of the great things you're doing. It's fun to hear about.
It's been fun to do them. And I think that's, you know, part of our mission is literally just having fun on bikes, right? You know, being fun, having fun and being safe. So we encourage you all to do that. And we're happy to answer any questions offline as well.
Yeah, and you know, I'll leave you some words of encouragement. You know, if you're excited about it, other people are excited about it as well. So, you know, get out there, be visible, and find those people in your group. I guarantee they're in your village if you don't know them already. You know, just get out there and do it, because there are groups like Active Trans, you know, who are there to support these missions and really push, you know, the ideas of advocacy locally. And, you know, our success is because we have a good support network around us. So, you know, so please get out there, enjoy it, and have a smile at every time you do it, and enjoy it, and know that you're out there doing it for a mission. So continue it.
Great. And sorry, one more question that came in. Have you ever had a pace bus show up to show how to use the bike rack on a bus?
Oh, that is a great idea, actually.
That's a great idea. Okay, yeah, I like it. We do have a pace bus, you know, that runs through Brookfield.
Yep.
And, my kids use it, and I think I've showed them how to use the bike rack. So that's a great, Terry, we're taking that one down, right?
I really like that idea. I know we, well, kind of that friend group that kind of initially started this, we would ride from the Brookfield Zoo out to Two Brothers Brewery in Aurora, and then take the Metro back. And we've gotten some pushback on that lately because it's too many bikes for the train cars. So we might be taking pace if we know how to use the bike rack. We'll try that next time.
And
these are really great questions and gave us a lot to think about as well. So thank you to the group for all the questions and thoughtful, you know, responses.
And are you okay with us sharing your email address
Yes.
with anyone who's interested?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you again so much. It was a fun conversation, and hopefully, yeah, lots of ideas shared. So I appreciate it.
Thanks to everybody. Be safe out there and have fun on your bike.
Thanks.
Be safe, stay warm,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you for the time today.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.